Gill Alexander on VSiN.
It's one of those idiots who believe in analytics.
Good Thursday morning to you. It is a numbers game at VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Thursday morning, December 16th, 2021. It is the Beating the Book podcast, MegaPod. It is primetime action live from the South Point Hotel Casino, tip of the strip. Gill Alexander, Matt Brown, Kelly Bidlin. Glad you could join us tonight. I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I go to work. I'm at work usually by 6:30 for a show that begins at 7 o'clock, goes from 7 to 9, a numbers game. By 9:30, I have to go from the South Point, which is, many miles south of the Strip, all the way to downtown to the D, which is where I record the Beating the Book MegaPod with Mike Palm, Todd Wishnev on the screen, and a rotating guest. So from the end of the show at the South Point, a numbers game on VSiN, then I fly up the freeway and have to be in my chair by 9:30 at the D. We then do that podcast roughly until about 10:45 a.m. At that point, I will probably go home and have my first thing to eat in that day. If I'm doing it right, I'm catching a nap. And then by 3 p.m., I am back on the road, back down to the South Point to do primetime action at VSiN, which I do with Matt Brown and Kelly Bidlin. And that show lasts 3 hours till 7 p.m., at which point I'm hungry. If there's a football game on, if it's football season, I'm still usually watching and betting on stuff. But by 9:30 that night, so a day that started at 5 o'clock, I'm probably nodding off on the couch like an old man. But I gotta watch enough sports to be prepared for the next day's numbers game, which begins at 7 a.m. You just rinse and repeat the next day. And also in that time period, the space between the podcast and primetime action, I'm booking guests and setting the schedule for Friday morning show too. I have a great producer in the morning, Jeff Parles, who's also great on air, who is super passionate about sports, who I can interact with. He's a huge help on the morning show. Great, because I'm not responsible for every word. And then at night, Kelly and Matt, we have a blast in there. And there are moments during the night show where I'm perfectly content being like, go at it, guys, right? And then on the podcast, it's Todd and Mike. I love the different things, right? I love that a numbers game guests are way different than, say, primetime action guests. Numbers game guests, those are really the guys that I want on that show. And it's super unique, and I relish in that. So variety is the spice of life? Couldn't do it unless there was variety. And I learned something from every one of them.
Very smart guy, very hard worker, puts in probably the most work of anyone that I know in this space. Unbelievable work ethic, one of the smartest guys I've ever been around, period, any space.
Some years prior to VSiN, in that little window of 2, 3, 4 years, it's night and day. I was editing the podcast in solitude. I was handicapping baseball in solitude. Versus once VSiN started, it was structured day by day. This is now a legit full-time gig. I hadn't been in structured radio for a while before that. I was just doing podcasts for a long time. That person, though, dreamt about this. So that's the one thing. When I'm saying all of this, I don't in any way mean to appear anything but super grateful, because this is exactly what I wanted to do. And it's sort of, not to get too corny about it, but I really do believe that if you work hard enough towards a goal, towards a singular goal, you will achieve it with hard work. There is a bit of a leap of faith. Nothing is guaranteed. But at some point, the work speaks for itself. So I think that person would be super proud of where I am now. And I think that person would just be elated